Hi everyone, so today we're going to talk about lower body mobility. For the month of June, I'm going to focus on the lower half of the body, and then in July, we'll move on to the upper half of the body. So when we start talking about the lower half of the body, we have to start with the feet, because this is the foundation of everything that we do. Two really common things that we see as trainers, two common conditions that we see as trainers are falling arches or flat feet and plantar fasciitis, which I know many of you are unfortunately very familiar with. So what happens with plantar fasciitis? Plantar fascia is the large tendon that runs on the bottom of the foot. It attaches from the heel, your calcaneus bone, through the bottom of your foot and then splays out into the toes through the ball of the foot here. And when we see falling arches, the reason why this is so important to address is when you have a falling arch and the foot is collapsing on the inside there because there's not enough strength, we are automatically putting the inside of the lower leg here, the posterior tibialis, into a very shortened, tightened position. And everything on the outside of the lower half of the leg here is having to work overtime to compensate and bring everything back, or try to bring everything back to a neutral position. So we really want to make sure that first and foremost, we are rolling out these muscles and tendons to make sure that we're relaxing everything and reducing inflammation as much as possible. So a really important thing to think about when we're engaging in any kind of activity, when we're engaging in functional training, is the movement that we have in our legs and our muscles. So a really great little trick that you can do is just take two fingers and see how mobile your skin is over the fascia here. So you have a layer of skin, a layer of fascia, and a layer of muscle. And we want to have a nice slide between all of those layers. And if there isn't enough slide, it's not much different than wearing skinny jeans and trying to do any kind of activity. So we want to make sure that we take those skinny jeans off, create lots of movement between the fascia, the muscles, and the skin to give us the range of motion and mobility to get into our activities. So I have a variety of mobility tools here, all of which are really great to add to your home gym collection. First and foremost, the one that is most familiar to all of you is the foam roller. This one is going to be really great if you're just starting out. It's a little more forgiving, a little less painful, so this is a really good place to start. Once you build up your tolerance and kind of get a little desensitized to that pain of rolling, you can work your way up to the Battle Star. The Battle Star from Rogue Fitness, I really love this one. It really gets in a little bit deeper, kind of like a deep tissue massage to get into those muscles. And then from the Battle Star, we work our way to the Supernova here, which is a mobility ball. And as we're getting into something that's more of the ball shape here, instead of the longer traditional roller shape, we're really pinpointing specific areas a little bit more so that we're, again, digging in a little bit deeper to areas that need attention. And then we have the Gemini here, which is a double ball. This is really great for when we get into the upper body, giving your space to place your spine here. If we're doing any kind of rolling on the back, you want to make sure that you never roll your lower back on a roller like this. We'll address that again in July when we talk about the upper body. And then of course your lacrosse ball, which is going to be really firm, really pinpoint, and really getting into those areas. Let's get started with the lacrosse ball. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, a baseball is a really good substitute, a softball. A lot of people ask if using a tennis ball works, and while it's better than nothing, it's not great because there is a lot of give to it, so it's not going to get you that really deep massage that we're looking for. So I'm going to grab the lacrosse ball, and we're going to start with the bottom of the foot. So you can do this standing if you want to put more pressure, or you can just do this seated right here. And we want to make sure that we're putting enough pressure down into that plantar fascia that we're creating a little bit of discomfort in that rolling motion. So while I'm doing this, we also want to remember, everyone knows about going back and forth as we're rolling. We don't want to forget, we also need to go side to side in this movement as well in order to get that plantar fascia that starts to splay out into our toes at the top of our foot or towards the end of our foot. So, and you can use your hands to assist here to put a little more pressure down, a little more upright, get on top of it. So making sure we're going back and forth with that lacrosse ball, as well as up and down. And it will get a little bit uncomfortable. The discomfort is kind of part of the name of the game. When things are really tight, it's no different than going in to get a deep tissue massage. It's uncomfortable, but you feel really good afterwards. So try not to shy away from that pain and keep getting into it. So when you're done rolling the bottom of your foot, and there is no time that is too short or too long to do this, we really encourage you to find some amount of time in your day. If it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, if it's 30 minutes, spend some time on this and really dig into it. Next thing, I'm going to use the Battle Star here to roll my calves out. So a lot of us know very basically back and forth rolling on the calves here, which is really great. You can roll both feet at the same time. If you want to put a little bit more pressure into it, we cross that foot over to add some pressure and really dig in a little bit more. You want to make sure that you're working into the inside of the leg there. So again, if you have falling arches, the inside posterior tibialis in here is going to shorten up and it's going to tighten up. So making sure you're really getting into that area, finding those tender spots, as well as into the outside of the leg. It might take a little bit of maneuvering, but that's okay. So we're rolling out there. And then another little trick that some of you may not be aware of is a little thing that I picked up from Kelly Starrett, and it's called tacking. So when you find a tender spot in the muscle, you want to tack that spot down. A really great way of doing that is just by crossing your other leg over, or if you have something weighted, some people have a weighted vest, you can put a weighted vest on your leg to help tack it down. We're going to hold onto that tender spot, and then you're going to move the joint through a range of motion. Okay, so you do that just a little bit, and then we'll roll out a little more. Look for another tender spot, found a spot, tack it down, and then move through a range of motion here. So that's going to help to release any scar tissue or adhesions in the muscle and in the fascia there. Okay, so we're just focusing on rolling out the bottom of the foot and the lower half of the leg here. Next week we'll move into the upper half, and then we'll be sending you some mobility exercises, some strengthening exercises for the foot, for the toes. Make sure you're going back to review that pen exercise, transferring the pen between the toes, work on strengthening those intrinsic muscles in the foot, and have fun. Spend a little time on it, and we'll see you next time.